the Muse, baby.
Hi, Fleur. Welcome to the Muse.
Am I supposed to respond?
You're supposed to respond.
Yeah, okay. I thought you meant you weren't supposed to. I wasn't supposed to say anything yet.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Well, I'm a big fan. I listen on my school run.
Did you actually listen?
Yeah, I've listened to all of them. Of course I have.
God, I love you. That is so nice. Well, I'm excited to have you on because I felt I first heard of you so long ago on YouTube, and YouTube was before Instagram. It was before anything. Take me back to then. What made you first pick up that camera?
I was at uni. I think it was 2000. I know it's 2009 because it was 15 years ago.
Crazy.
Which makes me feel really old.
No.
I was just bored at uni and I found this amazing community of people, which was back then quite a small community of people in comparison to now. And I just loved it. I first of all kind of got involved and like had an account and was commenting, learning, and just kind of sharing information. And then finally my mum convinced me. I told her about it. She was like, well, you should make your own videos.
Oh, I love that.
And she kind of gave me I wanted to do it, but I wasn't really confident enough to do it. And she gave me the kind of shove. So I started with my MacBook camera, the webcam camera, and filmed like 4 videos in a row, edited them all, put them all up on the same day, 29th of September, 2009. And then, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon. That's crazy because back then it was hard to have that confidence as well. I feel like you'd think maybe your friends at uni might take the mick out of you.
Oh, they did.
Did they?
They definitely did, yeah. So I was I think it was the summer holidays of my second year at uni. So by the time I went back, I probably had like 150 followers or something like that. And I think, I didn't tell anyone for ages, not even my siblings, because I knew they would roast me big time. And when people then found out, it was like, you do what? Like, that's the girl that like puts videos of herself on the internet, which now is really normal, right? And everyone does it.
Yeah.
But back then it was strange. And yeah, they weren't like mean, but they were a bit of goading.
Yeah, because I remember there was a girl that I went to school with that started putting videos on YouTube, and she was getting the mick taken out of her so much that she stopped.
Yeah,
I'm like, what a shame, because she could have been, you never know what could have happened.
You never know. But I think that's also the difference between school and uni when you've left and you're a bit older. Also, I just think I wasn't massively happy at uni. I didn't have like a huge friend group. Probably part of the reason why I started, right? I wasn't super busy. I was kind of a bit bored, a bit lost. I didn't love that experience. And I think that's what kind of pushed me into it. So I didn't really care that much what people would say. Whereas if it had been at school, you're, with those people like day in, day out, I would have definitely, I would have stopped. But I'm really glad I didn't start when I was a teenager, because I think that's a whole nother ball game of stress.
I feel like back then YouTube did feel like a little community. It was so special, and everyone would talk about different makeup products. Everyone would have all the same makeup in their makeup bag, like Hoola bronzer.
Oh yeah, all of it.
Take me back.
And so much MAC. MAC is one of those brands that it was like
everything was MAC,
the be all and end all. I think the funny thing, like looking back now, is like there wasn't so much thought behind the content. Do you know what I mean? It was just like you would just, I want to film that today, and you would just put it up. And I think that's what was quite special about it. There was something really raw about those early days, because there weren't really trolls. There wasn't really negativity, because if people wanted to watch it, that's why they were there. It's not like you would have it forced down your throat on Instagram. Didn't exist. So it's not like you'd be scrolling and it would pop up. It's like you kind of actively have to seek it out to consume that content. So everyone there wanted to see what you're talking about.
Excited to see it because it was so new and fresh. And did you feel pressure at all, or were you just naive to it, enjoying it, just throwing it out?
Pressure from
were you sort of like, oh god, people are watching this, like feeling judged?
No, I was excited if anyone watched it. I remember when I think it was 50 subscribers. I think I basically had a bet with Mike, because also I was dating Mike, who I'm now married to.
Oh my god, you've been
when
together
I started. We've been together that long, yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah, long time. And I remember having like a bit of a bet with him. He was like, if you get 50 subscribers, I'll buy you that makeup brush set that you wanted from Sigma, which at the time was like
Sigma, iconic.
Yeah. And he obviously said this being like, it's never going to happen. And like a week later, I was like, I did it. I've got 50 subscribers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
when was the first moment that you were like, whoa, this is taking off a bit?
When...
Was there a certain video?
Not a certain video, but for me, in terms of like, probably when I got stopped in the street for the first time, you're kind of a bit like, whoa, this goes from just being online to real life.
Yeah.
And I think when that happens, when you're around people, see whether it's your friends or family, and they're like, what the hell is going on? That's a bit of a like a click moment for me.
Sometimes when you post, like for me, I feel like I'm posting into a void. Like if I actually think about people looking at it and seeing it, then it freaks me out.
Yeah.
Like I just want to pretend I'm just posting to myself.
Yeah.
To nobody, into the abyss.
Yeah.
So it is weird when you meet people, you're like, excuse me.
You
like,
actually listen
when you
to
just
what
said
I'm
you
saying.
Yeah. When you said you listened to the podcast, I was like, oh God, you listen?
Someone's listening to this. Oh no.
Someone actually is listening. So
I think you can
crazy.
overthink it now, and I think now I overthink everything too much. I think it's got to the point, and that's like over a long period of time, like 15 years, like of everything changing and things being scrutinized and scrutinized and scrutinized. You do tend to get to that point where you're like, oh, can I say that? Did I say that wrong? Did I say that in a bit of a funny way? Did I look at someone in a funny way?
Yeah.
Did they think I hate her? Like, all of that. I remember back in the days when you do collab videos with people.
I loved those.
And people would be like, oh, Fleur's like looking at them really like she hates them. And I'm like, I've just got the worst resting bitch face ever. And I'm just listening.
Yeah.
Like I might look pissed off. Now I'm like, I try and like be happy and smiley, but sometimes you just look miserable.
Yeah. So
not portraying what's on the inside, it just happens.
It's just part of my face. So when you, like that group of you that first started on YouTube, like there was a specific group of you and you all kicked off, it was like madness. How was that? Like take me back to that, because this will never happen again in history.
No,
Like you were the original.
It's all planned now. There's business plans behind all these people now. It was just really fun. I think we all kind of met. I remember meeting certain people online and like for the first time, just being really excited. It's like I would never have been like an online dating person back in, but now it's normal. But back in like 2009, it was a bit risky meeting someone you've met on the internet. Like that's a big deal. And for me, I was like, you'd communicated with these people for say 6 months or a year online, and it's like that process of meeting
their lives.
Yeah, you know them, but you don't actually know them, and it was just all really exciting. And then we got the opportunity to travel. We got the opportunity to, work with amazing brands, and it was just really fun. And we were all in our like early 20s, very limited responsibilities. It was fun.
Did you ever sort of compete and compare with other YouTubers?
I think I was potentially one of the last people to realise that was happening. And I got fairly burnt by that as a result, I think, because I was just like, this is amazing, we're having so much fun. And then you realise when money comes into it, people get a little bit more competitive and a little bit more cutthroat with things.
It's a shame, isn't it?
But you live and you learn. In life.
Absolutely. Yeah, because back then you had all gone into it with such pure intentions. You were doing it as a hobby.
Oh my God. I remember thinking as I read, I can't remember his name now, but there was somebody who did it before me. And it was a guy, and I don't think he's still doing it now. I wish I could remember his name. But I remember the first article I'd ever seen in a newspaper, it was probably like Sunday Times Style or something like that, had a little section on this kind of phenomenon that was happening online and how he was making some money from it, like a few hundred, I think it was like £200 a month or something like that. And I remember thinking in my mind, if I could make £50 a month from this, bear in mind, I was at uni. I was like, if I could make 50 quid a month, that can pay for some new makeup. Every month I can buy back then £50 would buy you a lot more than it would buy you now on the makeup front. I was like, I could buy 4 MAC lipsticks for that. I'm happy days if I can do, and that's how I started. Like genuinely, there was no expectation. Or it was a very, very limited expectation.
Yeah. Well, now people are literally doing it, going in with a plan.
Yeah.
It's like how to make this much money and all of that.
Oh, yeah. Which I do admire also, because it's a little bit more like, it's a business kind of plan.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough that I didn't do that. I feel lucky that I started when I did, both because the lack of competition, but also like being in that space with that mentality behind it that, like you say, now doesn't exist. It was it was a special moment to be kind of part of something new and fun and different and all those opportunities coming up.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Do you remember meeting anyone for the first time that was nothing like you saw online and being like, whoa, okay, this is how it's going?
Not personality wise.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever happened where I'm like, oh my God, like you're not who I thought. Recently that did happen, but that's probably not for the podcast.
Tell us.
But a lot of the time, the height of people always surprised me. I remember meeting Candy Johnson. Do you know who Candy Johnson is?
Yeah, I remember
She's
her.
really tall.
Oh.
She looks like she would be a tiny person.
Yeah.
Like a pixie fairy, like teeny tiny person. She is tall. She's quite statuesque. And I just remember being like, and obviously I'm quite small.
Yeah.
Being like, whoa, you are not how I thought you would be. Like, you're like larger than life. Like, yeah. So
At least it's that, and not that they were horrible.
no, she was
That's
really
good.
nice.
And did it ever, do you think when you look back that it changed you as a person, like the internet fame?
I think it's hard to answer that actually, because I've been doing it since I was 21, and I think you change as a person hugely. Like I was a kid basically, like, and I think I have changed as a person. Is it to do with YouTube? Is it to do with experiences that I've had on YouTube or the internet? A little bit probably. Some of the instances where I've been like let down by people or, you know, kind of burnt definitely have shaped me. But also I was bullied as a kid. So I think that like at school, that really shaped me as well. And it's kind of a similar, it's like an extension of that, right? So all of that makes you a little bit more wary, a little bit more.
But you'll never know who you would be without
No,
the
you
internet,
never
because
know.
that's who you are.
But I think so. It's definitely shaped. It's definitely shaped my life for sure, and kind of, you know, I've changed and adapted with it. But yeah, it's hard to put a finger on it. Yeah.
And how do you like create boundaries like in your life? Do you turn off the phone? Or you just wake up and you're on the phone?
I have very limited boundaries with my phone. I'm terrible at it. You know, there's people that are like, you shouldn't have a phone in the bedroom and you should do this. I'm literally the worst person. I frequently fall asleep with my phone like this, and I will smack myself in the face and wake myself up. Quite a lot of the time, Mike will come to bed after me and come and take my phone out of my hand.
Stop.
So I'm not very good at that. However, I put a lot of boundaries in place post having kids. I think it was a real learning curve for me because I kind of ran into content and just shared everything. And being young, but also being one of the first people doing it, we didn't really have a blueprint of like, you probably shouldn't do that because you might like then not want to share so much or want to take it back. So I shared so much. I had no boundaries. And then when I had the children, I think I was like, hang on a minute. And then it took me a while to work out where the boundaries were. And I played around with that a lot because kids on the internet is also a whole new thing, right? And some people share everything. And I knew I didn't want to do that. But I also knew, like, you know, it's my livelihood. It's been my job for 14 years. So it's kind of, you know, do I want a change in career and not share anything of my whole life? Or do I find a kind of happy medium where I share a little bit and kind of ended up somewhere with a lot of the back of the heads and stuff like that. But
it's so tough because you've shared your whole life online and those people kind of think that they should see everything because they love you.
But also those people that do love me, I want to share.
Yeah, of course.
But the internet's not like that. You can't really be like, you can't vet people, bring them for an interview and you're like, you're a nice person, you're a true fan. Of course I would love to show you a picture of my kid. But, you know, everybody's on the internet. It's really horrible. But I think, you know, you just have to...
And when did you first realize that the internet can be a scary place? Did you like what the first time you got trolled or?
Yeah, when you get trolled and people kind of go out of their way to share personal information. I think when I realized it in terms of kind of safety and the children, it's actually with my nephew who's now 14. He's like taller than me and like an adult basically. When he was really little, I lived with my sister actually just before he was born, not when he was born, but I spent a lot of time in their house. And he was in my vlogs a lot. And it's when he got recognised without me.
Yeah.
And like my sister's in an airport and someone's like, there's Spike. And she's like, what the heck? How do you know who my kid is?
That's weird.
That's when it twigged for me that I was like, hang on, this is actually potentially a safety issue with the kids and all of that. Yeah.
And now there's TikTok, all of that. Do your kids, they're too young to have it.
They're too little.
But will you let them have it? Or be online? Or...
My stance currently with a mobile phone is 13.
Yeah.
Whether or not that like changes over time, I don't know. Like it's hard to know, isn't it? Like, do you?
And it's what all their friends do at school, right?
That's
my niece is 10 and she's...
Have her friends got
TikTok.
phones?
Oh yeah, they're all on TikTok.
Yeah.
Her account keeps getting taken down and she's got the kids version, but you're not meant to legally have it till 13, I think.
No, so River watches it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily TikTok. She watches YouTube Shorts, but mostly about like toy unboxing and things like that. And it's on my phone when I'm brushing her hair. Like that's the rule. It's like you can brush it. She doesn't complain about having her hair brushed. She can watch a few YouTube Shorts.
Good idea.
Yeah.
It's quite clever.
I sometimes wish I hadn't started it, but that's the rule, and I don't think there's an easy way of changing
If
it.
Rippo comes to you and is like, okay, Mum, I want to be a YouTuber.
She has suggested, like, she takes my phone and she'll go and vlog, and she'll literally be like, hi guys, so today I'm doing this. And like, she started doing that before she'd seen any of my videos.
Yeah.
Which was quite weird to me. Like, it's almost like ingrained in her, and also in, I think probably in a lot of children now, from just seeing content like that. They just know how to present to camera. And some of the stuff she makes, I'm like, oh my God, this would be so popular online. But yeah.
You're going to be a star.
Share it to the family group. And she's like, please, can we make my own channel? It was like, she doesn't understand what that means. I think, yeah.
Is it not
I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Everyone, like all these kids, like my mom's a careers advisor, and she's like, they all say they want to be an influencer. Like all these kids want to do the job that you were one of the first people to do. Like, it's weird, isn't it?
It is weird, isn't it? But I think, didn't that change from reality TV star to influencer was like the number one? I think it was footballer at one point as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really hard thing to navigate. I've actually been asked to go back to school and uni over the years to like talk about that, and I have always said no, because like,
why?
I just, you know what, I don't know what I would say, because it's one of those things that's like, yes, do it. Like, yes, it's an amazing job, but part of me also thinks to promote it to kids is tricky. Like, having been at the end of, you know, trolling and like negativity, and knowing that some parents let their kids do it when they are teenagers, you know, I just think, would I want that for my kid? I don't know. It's really hard. And I don't have the answer. I'm not saying no, it's wrong, but I'm saying I find it really problematic. And talking about it in like a career setting, I'm like, ooh, I don't feel qualified to do that. Even though I probably am quite qualified to do that, I still feel it very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And how have you sort of kept up with the times over the years? Because you've done it since the beginning.
Oh my God, do you think I have? I don't think I have.
Yes, you have.
I don't think I have. I don't think I've kept up with the times.
I'm still trying.
I'm trying really hard.
It's so hard because it changes so often.
It changes,
and you've done it since like the beginning, long form.
Since the dawn of time.
Then Instagram started, and now it's TikTok, and it's trends now. It's too much. Like, how
do you find it too much? I feel like this is such a one-sided conversation, by the way. You're like asking me so many questions, and I feel like I want to be asking
you're my
you.
Muse girl.
No, I know, but I want
ask me questions.
I want your insight too.
I find it way too much. It's so
it's a lot.
overwhelming.
It's a lot.
Crazy. I feel like since COVID, it has changed so much, and it's just not the job that I loved and was doing. Do you know what I mean? And now I feel like a completely different job.
For me, it didn't until TikTok. TikTok feels like a
TikTok.
different vibe, for sure. And I think that's like, I'm not going to say our age because you're a little bit younger than me, but when you're a little bit older than the average TikTok content creator, as we are, in your 30s, I think it's hard to like navigate that. And seeing a whole new generation of influencers come in that are adults, because before it was like us,
weird, isn't it?
And maybe a few kids, but now the kids are grown up, they're adults, and there's like almost like a whole new generation.
It's just happened.
There's a different vibe. Yeah, the last year, all of a sudden, you know, at brand events, it's like it goes from you know everybody in the room to you know a couple of people.
Right? Overnight. It's so weird. It's like I get there and I'm like, who the hell are these people?
Who are you?
Usually it would be like you knew everyone. It's people you've seen, or if there'll be a few new faces. Now it's like sometimes you walk in and it's just you and a load of new people. And it's like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. It
Crazy.
does. And it's hard to adapt. I feel like I've never had to make the effort to adapt before TikTok. Like, it was always just, oh, Instagram, this is fun. But for me, it's also like the workload of adding another
It's just never
platform.
ending.
Yeah. And it's also not like the best, in the time in my life is not the best for adding another platform either, because I've got little kids. So it's like, have another baby, and then TikTok gets massive. And then I'm like, do I be a mum, or do I try and be big on TikTok? I don't really know. Obviously, being a mum comes first.
Yeah.
So
you're also a mother to a jewelry brand now.
I know, have the
So
jewelry
what made
baby
you want to
as well.
do that? Because that's a whole other thing too.
So
I don't know how you're doing this.
It doesn't get as much time as it deserves. No, I'm not. Help me, Chloe. Help me. Okay. The brand is.
I'm like, wait, I don't have kids or a brand, and I'm like, Fleur, I can't do it.
If I feel like there's a lot of plates spinning and they often get dropped, and it's like, but the brand is something that's such a passion project for me. I genuinely love doing it. And I think it's given me such a new kind of motivation and lease of life. Not necessarily that, but I think doing the same thing for such a long period of time, it's added a new dimension to that, which has given me like a renewed energy for the space and for work. The reason why I set it up, I just love jewelry. My mum's kind of always been obsessed with antique jewelry. She kind of trades in antique jewelry, so she's always collected and gifted me things for birthdays and things that interesting, not necessarily, it's nothing like majorly valuable, but just interesting, like trinkets and charms, and like all throughout my life I've had kind of exposure to interesting, antique, beautiful things. And I think a lot of it, like I just kind of have always loved the idea of designing my own thing, and I got very close to doing a collaboration with a big jewelry brand, probably the biggest jewelry brand, and it didn't happen. And when that,
why didn't it happen?
they, to be really honest with you, they were trying to just put my name on something that didn't feel like me. It was something that was already designed. Yep, this will be the Fleur De Force collection. And
so like
we had so much back and forth, and we got to a really good place. We were like, yeah, this, and I feel like that kind of sums up my aesthetic, and blah. And then they changed their mind again and wanted to do it on something else that was quite not me. And we just said, look, this is not, no. And I'm going to do it myself, which is, at the time, I thought this is going to be great. Looking back now, I'm like, that was quite naive, because it's so much more work.
Everyone
and so much less reward, monetary reward, so much less monetary reward. But in terms of like enjoying what I'm doing, the design process, my favorite things ever are the shoot days for the brands, which you will have seen the other side of shoot days being a model, right? It's like, but it's fun, right? It's
chaos.
It's a real, and when you work on your own and you know, being an influencer is quite solitary, right? I think shoot days for me are like the ultimate, because you're like, you've got a team and everyone's there and everyone's got their role.
Fun. Like, it's just creative, and you've got all these people that are good at what they do, and you're like, oh, what should we do?
So much fun. So I think a lot of people think, you know, when influencers have brands, it's like, oh, they just like draw on what they want and then they just rock up. No, I am there. Like when we did the launch event, I was doing the flowers. I was there. My friend does calligraphy. I was taking all the place cards and everything round to her house, and she was doing it, and then I was taking them back. I did the lookbook. I did like literally everything. All these things that you think you'd have a huge team for. No, we have a tiny team, an excellent tiny team, but I'm massively involved in it and do way more than just I want that necklace to look like that. I do that as well, which is the best part. But there's all of the stuff behind the scenes. You know, it's like, who's bringing the steamer? It's me. Who's bringing the bras in every colour for the models? It's me. Who's like all of that?
She's a stylist. She's a designer.
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. But that's small brands, right? It's like someone's got to be like organising all of that stuff. And at the moment, it's me. One day we'll have a bigger team.
You will.
But yeah, no, I do love it.
That's so fun. It's like just so good to have something that you can put your soul into that isn't like, a social media can sometimes be soul sucking as well as it's fun creating, but I get it. Like even this podcast, like it's just nice to do something different.
Yeah. And also just to, you know, I think have a point of difference. And also I think it's been hard. And one of the things I found hard over the years of being an influencer, which that word didn't exist when I started.
Yeah,
right?
I actually hate that word.
It was like, I was a YouTuber, then I worked in social media, then like, you know, and it changes. And having the perception of what we do has changed hugely over time. So when I first started, it was like, you do what? Like kind of taking the piss. And then, you know, in the days of, and I always use Zoella as an example because she was the first one that became like a household name, right? So my explanation was, well, what do you do? And you know the scenario where you sit next to somebody at a wedding. Yeah. What do you do? And I'm like, oh, have you heard of Zoella? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I do what she does, but just way smaller.
Stop it.
So then they understand. Yeah. It becomes like, that made my life so much easier when people started to understand what social media was, right? And then it became, oh, that's cool. She's, you know, I saw her on TV the other day, or I saw her in a magazine and they're doing this. And people kind of thought, oh, that's cool and new and different. Then it went into the like negative space where being an influencer is a really negative thing. Yeah.
Now it's like, oh yeah, prove yourself.
Oh yeah, cringe. It's a bit like,
what do you say when people ask you what your job is? Do you say brand owner now?
It totally depends who it is. And it's changed massively as well since my daughter started school, because then it's like other parents being like, what do you do?
And they're like going to stalk
serious grown-ups being like, what do you do? I'm like,
they're like lawyers,
I'm a jewelry designer.
Yes.
But if it's with somebody that's in marketing or whatever, I'm an influencer. And they're like, oh great. Like what, like, who, like,
I mean, you are a jewelry
about?
Designer, so now you can just pick out the hat.
It's not technically a lie, but it's not the day job. But you know, it's one of the things I do. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's difficult, right? Because there's a lot of judgment there, and I get it, right? I look at a lot of what people do online, and I'm like, cringe. Like that's what you do, and it's like how shallow is it? But I think you have to look at your own audience and stay in your own lane of like, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, and don't let that noise kind of get in the way. Because I think if you get too caught up in that kind of like, oh, those people think that of me, or those people like, maybe if I do that, people will think
you'll never do
that I'm
anything
associated with so and so. No, you'll never do it. Like it's just a massive barrier to like doing something. I remember people telling me probably 8 years ago, being like, oh, I'm just too late. Like, I really want to start a YouTube channel, but I'm too late.
But look at people
and
now.
All the time I was like, you're never too late. Like, and a lot of people being like, oh, but I don't know how to do this. I'm like, just learn on the job. That, oh my God, some of the content I put out, like, it's a constant learning process. Even a few years ago, I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing? But 15 years ago, I was like, oh, I can't even look at it. It's so bad. But you learn in the process.
100%.
And you're never going to achieve something if you don't fail a little bit and learn from it and, move on.
That's something I've learned as well, that everyone's winging it in adulthood. Like, you think everyone will just has their lives together.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my mum started a house account a few years ago.
I've seen your mum's account. I sound like a stalker. I listen to your podcast.
I post her.
I
I'm like,
stalk your
follow my
mother.
But she just learned on the job. Like, obviously was like, okay, this is how you do the editing. This is it. And now she's like posting reels every day. I'm like, go on, mum. But it just proves like any age, any time you can do it. Especially now with TikTok. I mean, people are getting huge overnight. It's wild.
Yeah, that's what I find crazy as well, is like the speed. People just pop up and then all of a sudden there's a new person at every event. You're like, where have you come
And they're
from?
constantly on your For You page. And you're like, who are you?
Yeah. Well, I always try and like not pay too much attention or not get too like jealous of that situation, because I'm very like, just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, you have to be tunnel
I'm still
vision.
here this many years later. I'm like, just keep at it.
You have to be tunnel vision. I think same with any career as well. You just have to never compare. You're great as you are. What I actually loved about back in the day with social media is you followed people because of who they were and what they could offer, whereas now it has got quite trend led. Yeah, like you have to be on the latest trend. You have to do the latest song, the latest style, the latest. Like we were saying earlier, now everyone's wearing brown and burgundy, and it's like, okay, we need to go and buy brown and burgundy.
I need some suede,
but
awesome.
I
I can't decide which thing to buy.
So doesn't everyone become the same person? Like, how do you find that? Because I find it like sometimes I have to be like, no, I am me. Tunnel vision. Who am I? Let's not copy each other. But you're meant to.
General.
Stop saying that. You're not.
No, I just feel like what's really nice for me is having had this, like, the audience for such a long time. It's like they are there, like you say, they're there for you rather than for.
And they followed your journey.
Yeah, and because I daily vlogged for such a long time, they're there for like the life and personality, and they're like and they're not necessarily there being like, oh, what's the new thing that you're wearing, or it's very much like, they know my dog's names, they know my parents' names.
And if you could give someone listening now, if they're like, okay, I'm going to give it a go, let's give it Fleur says it's not too late. Here we go, let's do this. What would you say? What would your number one piece of advice be?
Do it. Don't care too much about if it's not perfect. Like, I think social media is, especially now, and actually this is one thing I love about TikTok, is that it's taken it back to the old school days of like, raw is better.
Yeah.
Like raw, authentic. Like, it's almost like the less effort you put into the production sometimes,
Crazy.
the better it does.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite nice for new people too, because it's like there's less of a barrier to entry. There's no excuse that I don't have a fancy camera. You don't need any equipment. Just do it.
That's when I've noticed a change as well, because now everyone can film an iPhone. As the iPhone cameras got better, everyone could be an influencer. So I think that's where the change came as well as TikTok. It used to be like you had to be quite creative or have a really good camera to create good content, like for brands.
I feel like that's a middle. I feel like that was a middle of the process.
Yeah, that's the first thing that
because,
happened.
like I said,
now everyone's like,
the MacBook camera was not great, but we
that was the
made
beginning.
it work. We made it work.
Yeah.
In the dawn of time on iMovie with the MacBook camera, the quality wasn't great. But
I guarantee you that'll be back soon. People will be filming on it. It'll be a trend.
Yeah, maybe.
MacBook camera TikToks.
Yeah, the worse quality, the better. I swear to God. Sometimes I'm like...
Well, everyone uses like the old video cameras and stuff now as well, don't they? Like to get that edgy.
I was saying this morning what I need to dig out. Did you ever have an Olympus pen?
Yeah.
I'm going to dig that
white
out.
one.
Yeah. I'm going to dig that out of the drawer and see if it is a good vibe.
What are your plans for the future?
What's going on? A big question. What are your plans for the future?
Tell me
That is
everything.
a big question.
Are you like a 5-year plan person? Like with the brand, like what's the dream?
I could not be less of a 5-year
Me
plan
neither.
person.
I
I
hate
am a
planning.
fly by the seat of your pants person.
Me too.
And I've always been asked that the whole of my YouTube career,
Yeah.
and I call it a career now, 15 years later. I
Yeah.
didn't for a long time. It's like, what do you do for a job? And I'm like, well, at the moment I'm doing it. Like, it was, I've never
Tricking
been
on.
like, well, this is forever. It almost felt like if I said that, I'd jinx it.
Yeah.
But no, now having a brand, I do have a bit more of a plan.
Okay.
I would love to grow the brand to a point where it is more of my day job versus social media. I still love social media. I still want to do that. But like, that's the goal for me would to be like, when I say I'm a jewelry designer, or I own a jewelry brand, for that to be my main thing. That's like my goal that I would love to achieve. And what's happening in the next period of time, we've got more jewelry coming out on Friday. Apart from that,
I am wearing
Chloe's
one
wearing,
of your
this is out now. That's out now. This will be up after Friday anyway. So
Oh, yeah.
there's
It'll be-
loads
everything
of
will be out
newness.
now.
So this year has been a hard one in terms of launches and newness
Yeah.
for us. It's taken a long time to get anything new. Which one? Which one?
They're just like, are they all
the middle one?
yours?
They're all ours.
I
yeah.
love them.
This middle one's not out yet. That's coming out at the end of October.
That's so nice.
Any, like, hit me up. I'll send you.
Oh my God, I will, guys.
I'm so also that's the biggest thing for me as well. When anyone ever says like, "I love your earrings. Where are they from?" I'm like,
It's my brand.
yeah, I love it. So it is literally my third baby.
Literally. Everyone that starts a brand, it takes over their lives. I'm like, oh my gosh, feels like it's so much work.
It's so much work, but it's rewarding.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. I ask everyone this.
I know this question. I know what
Who is your muse and why?
So I thought about this before I came, because you
Love
obviously
that.
ask at the end of every episode.
She's prepared.
And I've got two. Is that okay? Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
And they're both the most predictable, cringy answers ever. But the first one is Taylor Swift, which I've been a Swiftie since the beginning. So like some of my first YouTube videos were like, how to get Taylor Swift's hair.
I actually saw an article where you said the reason I started YouTube was Taylor Swift. Or that was like the article, the headline they used.
Yeah, so I saw an interview with Taylor Swift from maybe like 2008 or something like that with, I think it was with Teen Vogue. It was a video interview, and she was like, they were asking her what she did on tour when she was bored, and she said, I go and watch makeup videos in my trailer, and these girls are like recreating my makeup on YouTube. I was like, wow, this exists. And the reason why I even started like searching for makeup videos on YouTube was because of that interview.
Wow.
And full circle moment that actually I haven't spoken about in a long time, really, is that actually the fact that how many years later, it was 2012 or 2013, I met Taylor Swift and interviewed her again before she was still really famous.
How was that for you?
It was
freaking
amazing.
out.
I was freaking out, but she was so nice. But I also nearly actually lay down and died because she said she'd seen my videos from work.
Stop.
Yeah. So I got to tell her at the end of the interview, I said, I'm really sorry, I don't know if you know why I'm here. I'm actually not a journalist, because it was like a press junket type situation. I was like, I make videos on YouTube, and I just wanted to tell you, you inspired me to start, because in 2008 or whatever, I saw you do this interview. And she was like, I recognized your face when you walked in. I didn't know why. I've seen your videos.
That is crazy.
It's what I literally, you know, when you're like, you don't, I said to her at the time, I was like, you don't need to say that, honestly, like really, you don't need to say it. She's like, I guarantee I've seen them. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Oh my God.
So that was like a full circle moment for me. And she's always been like an absolute muse for me in terms of do what you love. Don't let people taking the piss out of you or saying like, you know, or not thinking the best of you, or like having faith in you bother you. Do what you want to do. And like now, look at her now. Like it's the level of success is
and she's just kept going, and she's had so many people.
Yeah,
come for
she's
her.
just ignored it and been like, you know what, I'm doing my thing. You can say what you want, but
And I just think she's the most amazing role model for young women as well.
Yeah.
Like, all the like feminist things she's had to deal with, horrible men.
100%. And like I've obviously been like the champion of Taylor Swift for years
day
when
one.
it wasn't cool, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, she's even more so than ever. She is like a muse, right? But I feel like now it's a bit of a cringy answer because everyone thinks she's great, but
No, it's not.
They haven't always, and I always have thought she was great. And even now, I like couldn't be
You're a
like
proper
happier
fan.
for her. True fan. And the next one is my daughter. Again, cringy answer.
No, I love.
Everything I do is like for her, with her in mind, and just she inspires me so much, like her outlook on life. And I think that's something for me that having kids has made me appreciate like the joy in life a lot more, because I'm quite a serious person. Like I'm quite like, you know, like I am really serious. Like I'm not a silly person. I'm quite serious. I'm quite like straight.
Yeah. And you can't be that with a kid because they're so fun.
No, you can't. And they're
silly.
so fun and they make you laugh every day. And I think she's just her, and obviously Enzo as well, but she was first. And she's a girl. So it's like, it's made me kind of appreciate the lighter things in life.
Of course.
And just smile a bit more, have a bit of laugh, and take life a bit less seriously, because it shows you what's important.
Oh, that's so lovely. I feel like everyone says that when they have a kid, that you see through their eyes, you see the world differently.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And you see everything, like them experiencing everything for the first time. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. Especially my son, Enzo's 2, and he's at that stage where he's like, whoa, like big truck. And you're like, yeah,
You're
like if
oh,
you
I
haven't
guess
ever
it is a
seen
big
that
truck.
before, you're like, whoa. And like, he goes to the beach for the first time, like experiencing all the sounds and the feel.
Yeah.
Or as an adult, you can just you're like,
Take
oh
it for
yeah, I've seen that a
granted.
million times, take it for granted, not be too impressed by things. And having a kid, and because you encourage them when they're going through all these experiences, you then find yourself being like, wow, look at that. And then
Yeah.
it like makes you think, actually, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Look
quite
at that. Have a look at that. Yeah, so it's
You're
good.
not serious anymore.
Not as serious. I'm still pretty serious most of the time, but it's taken the edge off the seriousness.
Well, thanks for being my muse.
Thanks for having me.